And welcome back, everyone, to a, delayed episode, a couple times delayed episode of the mRNA podcast. What's up, Trevor, in chat? And you guys can join us in chat, too, if you're watching these live Tuesday nights, generally, on twitch.tv/DoseOfNerdAcumen.
NAW Universe.
Thank you for the host, Batman,
Wrestling.
and you can host just like that. So again, welcome, everyone. Welcome, Justin, a.k.a. Staple Gun, back to the Music Review Nerd Acumen podcast. How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Good, man. So I mentioned this one was delayed a couple times. How long have we been planning this episode?
2 months?
Has it really been 2 months?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, because I know, you're right, because we talked about this before I went to Mexico. We tried to line something up with doing this in person. We got together and got to catch up in person, which was awesome. And we realized with my two kids and your two kids that it just was not possible to calmly, if you will, record a podcast for what could be our longest episode. It just didn't work out, and that's okay. So this one kind of got to simmer for a little bit. We hadn't done any reviews in a while for music albums. We've been sitting on this one. And it's a longer album. It's a deluxe edition of an album they released in 2020. So it's called Heartwork. It released early 2020? Originally?
Yeah,
April 2020. And then September, because it had just come out, which is why we were going to try to ride the wave of, the release of it. But it didn't work out, and that's okay. But it got to simmer. There were 27 total tracks on this?
Yeah, quite a bit, man.
I mean, for some bands, and thank you for the host, Dingus. For some bands, that's 3 albums worth of material, especially for some of the bands we reviewed. Because one of our critiques on former reviews was they were short albums.
Right. Offspring, Weezer, those are shorter ones.
Right, so this could be 3 full albums of content.
Yeah.
So, but this is the deluxe edition. There's 11 bonus tracks that were not on the original album release?
I think so.
I'm trying to think. And I apologize if I sound a little stuffy. Gotta love winter and gotta love kids in school. They bring home all the disease.
11 tracks, yeah.
So yeah, 11 bonus tracks. This, correct me if I'm wrong, this is an important band to both of us. There's a few bands that we've met in the middle on and kind of saw the same path or agreed for the most part on or have common, likes or interests and styles. This band kind of blends the best of both worlds for both of us, of the styles that we both enjoy, into an amalgamation. Can I say that word right? Amalgamation in one band. And I get to further clarifying, defining what they are and what they do and have done in my final review. But as always, we like to open up with a little bit of history on what the band is for us, what it's meant to us over the years, and then we segue into the actual album history, and then we give our predictions on each other's scores. And hola, Emma, what's going on? Thanks for chatting in. You're going to be lurking. Thank you for the lurk. Much appreciative. If you guys ever want to check out these episodes later on, too, they're always in our archives, and they're on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. Give us a follow and a sub there. It's free, and it helps us out for exposure. It helps us out for plays, too. So check us out on there if you ever miss an episode. But let's kick off things here with the history of the band. I did a lot of talking already, so I know you do your extensive work. We were talking about it right before we went on the air about the albums themselves, but what do you have for us tonight?
Sure. I mean, as far as history, I didn't want to go too much into the weeds of it because this is already a longer album review. But they've put out 8 studio albums. Definitely hit it off with In Love and Death. But even prior to that, It Takes the Ink and a couple other songs that had made the radio, but not quite broken through because mainly at that time they were harder, punk rock, emo band. And then they got a little poppier in Love and Death, got some big hits off of there. And then right after that, I feel like they really tried riding the radio-friendly wave And then from there on, they've put out a few other albums that those were definitely the first three were the three that I've played the most. And then the last few, they got a little bit more political with one or two of them, and then kind of their sound has evolved over the years, and now leading up to this one, and then that they put out last year, and then for 2021 they put out the Deluxe, which honestly could have almost been another album.
It really could have, and they've done that in the past. They've had B-side albums. They've at least released 2 or 3 up to this point. Even the Canyon, I think, was a B-side album. It had like 5 or 6 tracks on it. So it's not something that they're shy of doing. And even around the first couple albums, they had a B-side around Lies for Liars. I'm trying to think of the name of that album, but they definitely had it. And yes, I agree. They've evolved over the years. It helps that they've had a change in members as well, which influenced different styling. But it's important to evolve, right? Evolve or die is a common phrase. But they did start out as the quintessential Vans Warped Tour post-hardcore band.
Yes.
2002, that was the sound, that was the style. But I think they broke through the mold with those radio hits. I think they got motivated because they made some money, right? And I think they still conveyed their sound, message, and style. They never lost that. While they've evolved, you can always still tell they are the Used.
Yes.
They've never sold out, if you will, compared to, fans who will say that of their favorite band if they get big. Green Day is the great example. Their hardcore fan base in the early days, when Dookie came out, they sold out. No, they bought in. So.
Yeah.
But for me, my history, to basically summarize it, it would be an episode in itself. As we talked, there's a lot of history. I've enjoyed every single album. That is not a lie. I've enjoyed every single album by them. Have there been tracks I've disliked? Of course there's been songs I haven't loved, but I've enjoyed every single album. So next year, 2022, will be 20 years I've been listening to this band. And that in itself, I have to say, is an accomplishment. To like a band consistently for 20 years, they're doing something right. So they've appealed to all the things that I like in music, and they continue to surprise me with things too, and I enjoy them for that. I also note in here that I had the opportunity to see him live a couple nights in a row for an anniversary show for those first 2 albums you mentioned, and that was incredible. It was an intimate setting, probably 1,500 people tops. And it's one of those things, those 2 albums meant so much to my formative years. And I'm glad it was a 15th anniversary, I think is what it was. I'm glad I got to see it. So, again, overall fantastic band that still today, this was not a chore. This was not a task. This was fun to sit down and review and kind of fully analyze instead of just listening to for enjoyment. So...
yeah, I mean, for me, history-wise, this is a band that, same I've listened to for 20 years or so. It's pretty crazy to say. And even though they were a Warped Tour regular, it seems as though they were never on the Chicago or the Detroit dates.
No, which doesn't make any sense.
It's a band that I constantly missed and always wanted to see. And you had that 2-night experience. I got the chance to see him at Riot Fest. And that was about 4 or 5 years ago. Okay. And I mean, just incredible live band, and really enjoyed it. So, from there, like you said, with the albums that they've put out, there hasn't been one where I went, kind of losing me. But I mean, there have been some where I liked a couple tracks, and there are some where I go, wow, I really like this whole album. So it's been a mix for me. But again, not anything where, like you might have a favorite band and they put out an album and you just go, can we just forget that they put that out there? Because, we, like you said, Green Day, to mention, I mean, there are whole albums that I could completely forget and just go, can we just overlook that and just move past it? But I feel like the Used has always, even though their sound has changed, always put out consistently good songs. It's
funny that we both reference Green Day as well, because I hold Green Day as one of my favorite bands of all time. I hold them in such a high standard, but I think it's because of the early days of their music, not to mention their live show experience. So I hold them on such a different pedestal that I would the Used. And I don't think that's fair because the Used has consistently put out good music, whereas Green Day has been kind of, especially in the last 15 years, hit or miss, to be honest. So, and I don't know if it's mainstream pressure or what it is. Clearly the Used doesn't care. They're just pouring out their heart and souls. They're displaying their Heartwork, if you will. So,
moving past that. So, yeah, like you bring up Green Day. So like one of the bands we reviewed, Offspring, right? Like I hated Splinter when it came out. I was like, what are they doing with their sound? This is not Americana. This is, not anything that I've liked leading up to this. And there are bands that take that, that step and it just totally ruins their fan base or totally divides their fan base. I don't feel like the Used has put out an album like that where the fans just go, what is this? Because it's not like they're cranking out albums all the time either. I mean, 2017 was the last one and now 2020. So I feel like they're taking
3-4 years between albums.
Yeah.
So it's a healthy gap. They give time to let things kind of simmer for a little bit. They get time to really focus on the new ideas and not rush a product. The only one, and I referenced the Canyon before, and that's just more so like an EP instead of a full album release. That was the closest thing to an experimental album by them. And that was the only one that was like, all right, this is okay. I get what you're doing. I enjoy it for what it is. It's not one I frequent, but I didn't hate it. And it's not one that's like, it's because what it is, it's not divisive. It's not going to like alienate a fan base. So yeah, they play. I don't know if they play it safe or this is just what they are and what they do. Like some bands, it's just their style and sound, and that's fine. I'm not mad about it.
Yeah.
So I have a little bit of notes here on the album history. So again, Heartwork Deluxe Edition, 11 bonus tracks. So in mid-2019, the Used signed to their longtime friend and producer John Feldmann's record label Big Noise. They started recording the album in June of 2019. Took a break to headline the Disrupt Festival Tour and finished recording the album in November of 2019. A music video for the single Blow Me was released in December of 2019. Paradise Lost, a poem by John Milton, in February, and Cathedral Bell in April. This is the first album to feature Joey Bradford on guitar, which shout out, he actually liked our photo promoting tonight's show on Instagram. So probably not listening, but hey, even the like alone made my day. So shout out and thank you. I know you're the new guitarist, not enough history, but still, you're playing for the Used. Like, how cool. Super cool. So again, Bradford, thank you. Shout out. Check them out. Instagram, Twitter. Give them some love. So after Justin left in, not this Justin, you weren't in the Used, sadly. You should have been. You played guitar for a hot minute. They left in 2018. There's a story behind that too. I won't get into that, but it's out there if you want to look it up. The band recorded 27 songs during the Heartwork sessions and plan on releasing another album later in 2020 that will include the remaining songs. And then obviously that led to the remaining songs. Here we are with all 27 now. And the Deluxe Edition was eventually published September 10th, 2021. So we're a few months behind on reviewing this. We apologize for those anticipating this one. We are here now, and we're happy to be reviewing it. Predictions. It's out of a 10. Whole numbers only. No partials. We haven't done a partial yet, have we?
No. Yeah, I feel like we could, but we haven't.
We could if we really want to fight for it. I'll prove a partial.
Halves. Yeah.
So let's do whole numbers only. Do you want to predict first, or shall I predict yours out of 10?
Go ahead.
So knowing your history, our history with this band, I would say you would give this one, based on your style and interests, I keep leaning towards an 8, but I want to say 9.
Okay. For you, based on based on the tracks, the variety, and what I know you like, I'm gonna go bold, and I'm gonna say you're going 10.
Dang! Would that be the first 10 on the show?
I think that would be. I'm trying to think if I did 10 for, which wasn't an album, but Bo Burnham.
Did you do 10 for that? I don't remember now. We should write this stuff down.
You're right.
Go check out that episode.
No, I think you're gonna go. I think you're gonna go 10. Okay. That's my guess.
So a perfect album, a 10. That's a bold statement. We'll find out if that's accurate.
We will.
I do want to say a thing too before we start to jump into the album. Regarding the live performances, the one thing I noticed, he had some sort of liquid that he was drinking, whether it was honey or something, to coat his throat during his performances. The man has lost his screaming voice, sadly. But as we get into this album, they found a way where he can still do it, but also have guest artists on the album.
Yes.
That fill in those blanks to keep that sound and style. And we'll get to that when we go to the track by track. We're going to alternate in our turns through all 27 tracks here. We're going to try to keep it to a minimum unless a deeper conversation requires it, so we don't bore you to death. But we do want to emphasize or focus on the things and emphasize on the important stuff. So do you want to kick us off or shall I?
I'll start us off.
Let's go.
All right. So first we got Paradise Lost. It's 2 minutes and 57 seconds. It is a poem by John Milton. But they turned it into a song, and I mean, it's an excellent way to kick off the album. Very heavy, very like coming at you. And you know, I keep wanting to say lyrically, but I mean, it's a poem. So, the writer of the poem, I feel like what he was writing about was captured in the song very well. And I feel like it relates to the Used, also very well with their lyrical content just from previous albums and kind of a recurring theme throughout this album. Talks about being shaken by the past, struggling to make connections for basically overall like fear of poisoning the other person or making them like themselves. So this, I mean, was a great way to kick off the album, and I would say it's one of my top 3 tracks on the album for me.
Yeah, I'd have to agree 100%. Good energy, starts you off right back into what you're familiar with if you liked and have listened to the Used before. So, yeah, the notes here, I added the same thing. It's a poem by John Milton. Heavy intro, a build into one with a slight distortion on guitar. It drops back into clean. So, again, the stylings where it drops out in the sing-along verses, stuff you just want to groove to is present here. The chorus is traditional heavy sing-along with Bert. And it's, again, fantastic way to open the album. So I did find some information on this, too. This was quoted from Bert McCracken, which is his name, Robert, I call him Bert. And he shared this on social media. He says, in quote, "I've always been a bit obsessed with Paradise Lost. I really dug deep into the poem and its author, John Milton. As I was reading a lot of his political essays, I realized that a lot of what Satan says in Paradise Lost are quotes directly from John Milton's own mouth. A lot of people thought he was the devil back then. He had a huge problem with the show of opulence. Opulence? I don't know how you say the word. From the church, he thought it was disgusting. His poem is about the failed revolution against the Church of England, which is Satan's failed revolution on earth. And what's more incredible or exciting than a failed revolution?" End quote. So I found, just to give you a heads up too, I did find quotes through some of these tracks to give you some insight. But yeah, I found that fascinating. Again, great way to get the energy going and hype for the album. Good intro. Really good intro.
Yeah. Yes.
Second track was the first single called Blow Me. Comes in at 3:20, and it's not what you think. So immediately you're like, oh, okay, how you doing? No. My first 2 words. Love again. Because immediately, this is awesome. 2 tracks in, and I'm already enjoying the hell out of this album. Fast-paced, heavy in nature of the style. Love it. We got a goal. Thank you for the goal, Kira. This is a long redemption sound. It's of course of Cody scoring the goal. She says, so worth the 50,000 for redeeming it. It is an expensive redeem, but it's also one of our longest redeems. I think it's like 26 seconds. So you get your credits worth. So again, I love the fast-paced, heavy nature of the style of this. It continues with this track for a band that has adapted some of their style to appeal, as we talked about already, the top 40 charts. That is not present here for the most part.
Nope.
Especially with like pop punk. This is a great return to form for... I shouldn't say return to form. I wrote that in my notes. They didn't really leave form.
No.
But like, as far as like single play...
Return to roots.
Right. Return to roots as far as like single play too. They're not trying to pump the which is funny too, because pop punk is making a comeback right now.
Yeah.
But they weren't... We'll get to that, I'm sure, in another episode. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Anyway... so again, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the guest artist on this one, who is Jason Butler from Fever 333. Are you familiar with that band?
I have seen them live twice.
So you are. Are they good live?
They are, yeah. When I first heard them, I mean, it was, very Rage Against the Machine sounding, and I even have a little knapsack bag that has Fever 333 logo on it that I got from Riot Fest a couple of years ago. So yeah, great live band, high energy for sure.
That's good. Yeah, because their albums are fantastic. I'm a fan of that band too. Another political band.
Yeah.
So they had a single a few years back. I don't know if you've seen the music video accompanying the single, Made in America.
Yeah,
sweet video, but they make some statements.
Big time. And very statement driven band.
It's good representation too. So especially for rock artists and people of color. So I thoroughly enjoyed that too. So if you're interested in learning more about them, check them out. They're a really good band if you like political stuff. So yes, he is a guest on this one, and man, he can scream, and he does so on this track. The breakdown at the end of this one especially, holy crap. It's almost cringeworthy and uncomfortable, the breakdown. Just how slow it slows down and just how heavy it gets. Incredible. Incredibly topical song too about gun violence, which continues to be a problem. Go figure. That's not why we're here today, but man.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts. Loved it. Great song, great single.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of nailed everything on that one. No, I mean, great, very thorough. I mean, like you said, it kind of touches on gun control. And again, it makes perfect sense that if you're going to, it's really, I mean, one of the only, I guess you would say, political statement track on the album.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't, we'll go through it later, and see if anything comes up, but not that I can think of. So, I mean, it makes perfect sense you bring in Fever 333. And like you said, as far as him trashing his vocal cords early on from all the screaming, why not bring in somebody, if you've got the star power, we'll get into it later with all the other people that he's brought into this album, which are almost legends of their own. Or actually are legends of their own. So to see him, I mean, Fever 333 is a band that's been around for a couple of years, but are definitely on the rise, at least in that scene. Definitely not something you're going to hear on the radio every day, because...
No, I mean, Made in America is really heavily played, but that's about it.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, you pretty much nailed everything. It's another just banger right out the gate. You're into it. And... yeah, really great song.
Kira says in chat here, band I really enjoyed live, which are not very well known, is Late Night Savior. Have you ever heard of them?
No.
I have not. I'll have to take a note on that and check them out. I have not heard of them. Are they local then for you, Kira? Because we do have people around the world that chat in on this. So I believe fully assume then if not, they're from UK then too. We'll find out. So yeah, keep us going. What was track 3 then?
So track 3 was Big Wannabe. So 3 minutes, 29 seconds. Again, this one, it starts off basically, like I said, a factory-like metal clinking kind of sounds with heavy guitar effects right out the gate. Just basically saying, I want to be big. Can't help but flex my influence was one of the lyrics in the song. And I mean, they've been a very influential band, so I do feel like they've been successful in wanting to be big. So the breakdown of this song definitely goes into more of kind of like a reggae type of beat, which is very different for the use. So it was but it fits in the song really well. So yeah, basically it's just a song that's kind of about grinding and perseverance and building up and kind of not letting anything get in your way. Just want to be big, and they want to make it. And I feel like at this point it's kind of redundant. I feel like they've been big, but I mean it's good to dream to be bigger and be more successful. And I think overall with this album they've done that.
So I agree to an extent. I think they've been big as far as radio play. They are not arena and like stadium tour rock big. Sad to say.
Correct. But that's the genre, though.
It is, and it's very rare that, I guess, I don't know, certain genres don't appeal to the stadium rock. Like the ones that I always find it odd to me, Green Day was the odd one, but I think their presence and styling somewhat adapted to that, especially during the American Idiot days.
Yes.
And I think that's what led to the stadium success for them. There are bands like 30 Seconds to Mars. Like, I still view them as just the band I saw at like Intersection. Like 1,000, 1,500 people as an opening act. They're selling out stadiums in Tokyo. They're selling out worldwide. Like, what? I don't know anyone. I shouldn't say anyone. I don't know hardly anyone that talks about that band.
Yeah.
So that's wild to me. But again, their style, I guess, fits. Like Muse, they're another stadium, artist. Yeah. It must be the sound or the style. But yeah, post-hardcore, you're not going to see a lot of these bands breaking through doing stadium rock tours. In the regards of being big, is that what they want? Who knows? Yeah, it's... I think they reached their apex around Lies for Liars and In Love and Death. Yeah. As far as, like, chart making it big.
Yes.
Because since then, the only time I see them in places just small, like 1,000 people or less venues. And honestly, I'm okay with that. I'm sure they're not. I'm sure they would like the bigger paychecks. But,
right.
I don't know. So... For Big Wannabe, this track slows things down, as you mentioned, while still remaining kind of heavy. And it's a heavy ballad, if that makes sense, and how to describe it. I do have a quote from an interview with Bert. It says, Big Wannabe, I think, is a really sardonic and sarcastic look at the world of influencing in general, which is very topical because technically that's what we're doing here, right? We're a reviewer, but we're influencers per se. We're not certified checkmark influencers. But I think anyone who's on Twitch or Instagram or Twitter that's trying to put out content or original or feedback content, they're influencing. We're influencing you to listen to this album right now. We're influencers by nature. So I think it really speaks to the soul of what humanity has lost with Instagram influencers. It's been going on for a long time. It's been elevated with Instagram and social media. They're platforms that make people feel jealous, but that feeling of jealousy can't be reciprocated on the other side. You can't feel someone feeling jealous. So it's just this weird, confusing conundrum that's a horrible situation for humans to be stuck in. But it's also kind of a light message about pushing yourself, as I just started working out with resistance training about a year ago. So in a roundabout, joking kind of way, it's also how I want to become way larger than I'm capable of becoming. So that was his in an interview describing him wanting to be big. It's a...
Yeah, metaphorically and physically.
Right. So we always, by nature, want to be what we aren't. We want what we can't have. When we see something or someone with something, we want that something. And I think it's that powerful tool like Instagram he speaks on is influencing us to do things. I mean, we see it all the time. People selling makeup, people selling candles, people selling crafts. anything. People like the pyramid scheme people, that's influencing and it's powerful. Music is influencing. His words here, it influenced us to do a podcast tonight. It's just human nature. There are tiers and structures to all this, and this is what he's describing. And I think there's good and bad in all of it. But he spoke more eloquently than I ever could. And it's why he's big and I want to be. You're welcome.
Yep.
All right. So what are we? Back to me?
Back to you.
So track 4, 304 is the time on this one. It's called Bloody Nose. What's up, Lana in chat? So immediately with the guitar intro of this one, I am brought back to 2002. And I know it's not the original guitarist, but when you hear his style, and I'm sure, and of course he is playing their old music, you're going to kind of play in a certain way and use certain tones, right? It's that signature sound and style that's going to be used here. And it was used here. So immediately, time travel almost 20 years ago, 2002 with this opening. Then it goes through mid-use with the filtered and processing sounds that we got familiar with around Lies for the Liars time frame, especially with the drummer that they acquired around that time frame. They lost their original drummer around then. And the style changed with the drumming especially. You'll notice there's filtered effects, the engineering and studio stuff that they started doing more. It probably came with the money and resources from what they had prior to, but, that happens. So even as they evolve and write new content, they still have that style, which we talked about in our opening, and it's definitely heard on this track. Ultimately, it's a song about where we go when we fail and what we do with our mistakes is what I grasped from this one. So,
yeah, I mean, I agree. Starts off, like you said, very early used. Starts off with a scream, very heavy drums, and even some kind of violin notes in the background. So like you said, as far as production goes, the things that they've added, like there are bands that get, fancier productions and they put the stuff in the music and you go, oh, this is just so overproduced. But in this case, I think it fits very well. It says, I've been on the ropes, funny that I feel so strong. Again, this one is, it seems like a song kind of about going hard and just kind of waiting for the crash. Just, kind of waiting for the bloody nose. It's coming. Eventually you're going to take that hit. But in the meantime, this is just kind of that, for me, feels like the build up to that point. Kind of almost like, building up to want to be, you want to be big. And then also you're going to take some kind of bumps and bruises along the way. But yeah, really, again, really first 4 songs in, great start to the album.
Yeah, definitely not disappointing so far. Is it a 10 out of 10? I don't know.
We'll see.
Then we got track 5. You want to keep us going with that one? My tablet's freaking out.
So track 5, Wow, I Hate This Song.
Wow.
258, which is not true. So yeah, every time, starting off lyrically, every time I hear the key, I see you in the melody, kind of reminds me of a song, that would be on the In Love and Death album. Mm-hmm. So again, I feel like they kind of hit that, right there, and have a really, really catchy chorus. And everyone can relate to a song that comes on the radio and kind of brings back painful memories and how you basically do anything to turn that song off. And I feel like that's captured very well in this song. So it's just funny to make a song called Wow, I Hate This Song. Talking about something that you just want to stop hearing, not just because it annoys you or because it's overplayed, but because of how you relate to that song. So I think, again, everyone can relate to that feeling, and to have a song that tells you to turn off the track, it's kind of a nice reminder.
Yeah, holy crap, that this, like you said, it nails it. I absolutely love this song. I could play this one over and over and over. And Lana
catchy.
It is catchy. Lana doesn't get why I liked the song, but for whatever reason, this one stuck with me. There's specific lines that I'll get to in my feedback on it that I really thoroughly enjoyed. But so yes, it's a slow down melodic ballad, has all the heavy notes throughout it though, especially the build of the chorus. where it's sing along, but yet just kind of nailing a heavy tone. Lana says everyone has that song. Anyone who says they don't is a liar. Fact. So the chorus exemplifies a chaotic breakdown of sorts, with its lyrical content describing the point of the song. Hating the things you write or enjoy is interesting and relatable. The notable part of this song that just really sticks with me is his kind of mental breakdown of it all. The la la la, make it stop.
Yeah.
And then where he ends the la la, holy fuck. Like, he's just like, I'm going nuts. Stop it.
Right.
La la la. Because you do that to block out sound. You cover your ears and la la la. I'm like, that's amazing. Like, I've never, like, the way he puts stuff, it's just incredible. And it's so simple. Like, when you think about it, like, that is the most simple lyrical content. But it's the way it's written, telling that story.
And it works well with the sound of the song.
Yes. It's so simple, but it's so perfect. So yeah, I have to, and it's littered throughout the song. It's not overdone, but it is littered throughout the song. It's basically like the post-chorus of the chorus, which makes sense, a post-chorus. I have a quote too. He says, "My relationship with music is a tumultuous one. This started out as an idea to write a song about how I hate every song, but it took on a really sentimental second meaning. When you spend time with music during a difficult period, those records become solidified with a painful memory." This is what you've basically said and summarized. Are you him? There are records in my life that I can't listen to nowadays without going back to that time, and it's painful, and music is so powerful like that. So yeah, you basically summarize word for word, what he put out there too. And I mean, that's everyone has that. That's so accurate to a T. We think of a song, how there are certain songs that I think to like homecoming dances, certain moments, certain like, it's like, fuck, I can't listen to this song anymore now. You ruined it. You blame the other person, of course. It's never your own fault.
No.
But you think of these significant moments, and it's probably why you have a wedding song, right? It's why you have these moments, these songs that are going to be so meaningful for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And music is so incredibly powerful like that. It's been so powerful for my life. I mean, it's brought us together. If it wasn't for music, we wouldn't have met in band class. We wouldn't be talking right now. Like, that's how powerful music can be. So it's these little things that become such huge things in our lives. So it's cool. I don't know. Music is great. And it's why we're here doing this. So this song, fantastic song. Love it. I'm probably going to listen to it after the podcast again because it's just so good.
Number one on the album for you, or?
It's damn near it. Between this and Blow Me so far, probably my two favorite tracks.
Gotcha.
But there are other ones too, though, that I really enjoy off this album. So, like, it's a toss-up. It depends on the mood, too. That's the thing about music. It depends on your mood.
Yeah.
So, is it you? Is it back to you?
You.
Okay.
Back to you.
It was still me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, this one's easy. 1 minute long, track 6, My Cocoon. It's an interlude. It's what I got from this. It's literally about being comfortable, maybe, by themselves in their cocoon. That's what I got out of this.
Yeah.
It's just a minute interlude, nice little bridge, if you will. That's it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's just a kind of midway through, or not even midway through, but kind of song about, isolation, and not much to say about it. It's fine. It's not like anything where I went, ugh. But no, it's a good interlude between this and the next song.
Yeah.
So
it's fine. I like that. I think we've used that before in our reviews. It's fine. Encoding overloaded. Hold on. We'll see if we drop any frames here. OBS is freaking out. Go ahead. Continue. Track 7.
Yeah. So we've got Cathedral Bell. 3 minutes, 3 seconds. Starts with the sound of a door closing. It's got kind of very dancey beat with kind of a eerie harp going on in the background, which is cool. I mean, again, it's not something I'm used to hearing from The Used. I mean, they've experimented with their sound a bit over the years, but I liked the element that they added to it. Let's see, kind of they're feeling like they're stuck in the mud, trying trying to read my writing here. While being kind of curious about the world, but not fully engaging in it, is what I've got for Cathedral Bell. Not one of my top tracks, but I did really enjoy this song. Yeah, as far as the overall number of hits on this album for me, this was on the lower end, but yeah, I mean, it's a good song, but I don't have anything too much going into the lyrics other than kind of what I mentioned already.
Yeah. Quick note too. Have you seen the music video for this one?
I don't think I have. No.
It's one of those lyric videos, but it has like almost. I think it might be an actual video, but it's got like claymation almost to it. So
okay.
It's animated. Like it's super eerie and weird.
Yeah.
But it fits the tone of the song, the video. If you get a chance, check that out and let me know what you think.
Okay.
But, there is a music video out there for it. But yeah, the very 80s vibe to this one was what I was getting. So kind of groovy, cruising, just like retro sound. I have notes that I feel it's a song I heard before. I don't know from where or from what, but it has that familiar style to it. So again, fun groove of this track that maintains throughout, which could be my only complaint. It never kind of has ups and downs. It just kind of grooves through. No hills, straight vibes. Lyrically relatable track about being stuck in your own head with thoughts controlling you, but you cannot react or act against them. So much like what you said, a unique track. I like this one. It has a good groove to it. It's not my favorite, but it's not a bad track by any means.
Yeah,
so
agree.
It's good. It's again, everything worth listening to so far. Everything on this album so far is worth listening to. So yeah. Still me?
Still you?
Track 8 comes 244, 1984, Infinite Jest. I believe that's how they pronounce that, right?
Yep.
Going early-ish used on the opening of this track with a mandolin styling too. I believe it's a mandolin. I could be wrong. It's some stringed instrument.
I mean, there's so many sounds in this album. To identify each one would be you'd have to be extremely well versed in your musical sounds.
I'm almost there. I'm just kidding. So it's got creepy string. It's a signature style they've used before. The creepy, almost spooky, like carnival vibes as they build into a heavy bridge in the verse. This track is a reference lyrically to one of Bert's favorite books, which is called Infinite Jest, I found out. I had never heard of that book before, but I was curious what the heck that meant, and that's what I discovered. So. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe so you totally ignored the No, that's fine. So you totally ignored the 1984 part of that, huh?
Oh my God. Right over my head, too. Right over my head. Wow. I was focused on the wrong part of that.
That's so funny. Yeah. Well, I mean, as we'll, I'm sure, discuss more throughout our reviews, a lot of these songs are relating to books. Or poems or short stories.
I do have noted. Which 1984 is a damn book. What the hell am I doing?
So oddly enough, I had actually, or not oddly enough, it's one of my favorite books, 1984. So again, I'm not as familiar with Infinite Jest, but I am familiar with 1984, and I actually re-listened to it recently before we were even deciding to do this. And yeah, I just thought it was pretty interesting that he's kind of tying the two books together and also relating it to modern day. And instead he just kind of he compares the did you read 1984? Are you familiar with it?
100% familiar. Yeah, I love the story.
Okay. Yes.
That's why I'm mad about this, that I didn't even make the connection.
Now you gotta really re-listen to it.
It's right in my face now.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, compares, basically 1984 for people that don't know, constantly being watched. Big Brother's always watching you. You feel like you can't even have negative thoughts or they're going to be onto you. The thought police. There's a whole great book. Definitely recommend checking into it.
Well, suddenly too, in the last 2 years, everybody got real familiar with the story when I guarantee half those people didn't read the damn book, but they wanted to use that to, narrate their agendas. Like, you stop it.
Right.
You don't even know. But go on.
We are luckily still very, very far away from 1984.
Correct.
But in some ways we aren't. So basically, I did look into this one a little bit more too, and basically, well, as I said, there's a constant telescreen in 1984, and then basically now with us having a constant telescreen, aka our phone in our hands constantly, it's kind of taken a modern day approach that you are always in front of a telescreen, whether you realize it or not. Let's see. He makes a lyrical part in here. It says, "The prettiest corpse, the real Black Parade," which is a Black Parade is a known thing, but also a My Chemical Romance reference.
Yes, when they did a song together years ago, a cover of Queen.
Yep, Under Pressure.
Yep.
Let's see. Decay's Chasing My Face. Compared to your face. Again, that's also kind of talking about social media. As far as applying filters. I'm seeing your face, it looks very pretty. In my face, I'm looking in the mirror and seeing that it's decayed. So ignorance is this. Basically gets whispered and repeated throughout the song. The only way to set us free is to sever the artery, which is great, because the only way we're going to stop being addicted to our phones is for
cut
us
it off.
So,
no, cut off the source, right? For us to die,
right.
Essentially, yes. Sure, but cut off all of that from our lives. Just disconnect.
Totally disconnect from social media, or until you pass. Yep. Again, I thought the 1984 references were just fantastic in this song, and now that you'll go back and listen to it, I'm sure you'll pick up on that. Mad.
It was right in front of our face. The title is there. Like, come on.
Mm-hmm. Well, and same with 1984, you're seeing this big brother figure who's never aging, always looks the same. Is he a real person? And that's kind of what we see in social media. And so I thought lyrically one of the better songs. And even though it's pulling from biblical, I was going to say biblical, literary references, it's still really relatable to modern day. And I like the new spin on having your phone being the telescreen, like 1984.
Makes complete sense. Like, yeah, it's scary. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you look around every day, someone has it in their hand and they're doing something.
Oh, yeah.
Always.
Mm-hmm. Or if you're in line somewhere and then
just pull out your phone. It's in your hand.
Well, then there's a spot open. You're like, all right, come on, move. And they're not paying attention. Yeah, happens constantly.
It's wild. It was not like we grew up in a generation that didn't have that. It's wild. That's all we see now.
Yeah.
Batman says, love 1984. Did an English lit exam on that. Yeah, we had to read it in school years ago.
Yep.
And that's when I really kind of discovered that genre of, I knew of science fiction, but almost science nonfiction, right? If you will. Like,
yeah,
it's great potential.
Yeah.
But that's why it makes it so interesting, right? This man, like, he's the people that are broken are freaking geniuses. Like, they really are. Like, Bert, he's been through some shit, but he is smart. And I believe he's a high school dropout, too. Which is wild. So, again, like, I don't know. It's wild to me. The incredible knowledge this man has. And the way he can articulate things. And his fondness of poetry, too. That's a whole different style. To be able to think and write like that. That's not normal. That's his unique characteristic. So,
yeah.
And I want to use that term loosely. Normal. What is normal, right?
All right.
What's up, King of Pro 259? Thank you for chatting in. How are you tonight? Is it you still? Are you kicking us through?
Yep.
So, yeah.
All right.
The next one.
So, Gravity's Rainbow. Again, another book. So this is one that I was not at all familiar with. So I did look it up. I did like... I wasn't familiar with the book. But basically it kind of relates to World War II and the design and production of rockets. And I felt like, at least lyrically, it was kind of from the perspective of somebody living through it and kind of recognizing what they're doing and the impact that it's having on the world around them. For me, again, it was hard for me to get really into this one, even though it's 4 minutes and 13 seconds. I like the song, but again, without being super familiar with the story, it was like less relatable when I look back at the 1984 song just before it, and I'm going, oh yeah, I know what this is saying, I know what this is saying, I know what this is saying. So yeah, that's all I've got for that song.
So for this one, I mentioned again, we talked about the sound engineering. I got to give compliments again for how they fill out their tracks. Opening with strings. For me, it's become iconic with them. I know they're not the only band. So many bands use strings to fill out their sound. But the way they mix theirs, you know it's a used track. If you're familiar with the used, that is. So for me, it's become iconic for them. This builds into heavy riffs to transition to the verse, which then falls back into a calmer drum and bass. The chorus is heavier with the sing-along styles, which we're growing to expect if this is your first album, or you've grown to expect if you're a seasoned fan of this band. I noted in here, too, Bert seems to be a bookworm a bit.
Yeah.
So it was at this point where I'm starting to acknowledge the trend, which we already talked about and highlighted. And he's referencing again another book that he loves in this track name. So at this point, because when I listen to an album, I listen to front and back. That's just how I've always listened to albums. It's how I'll continue probably. I'm not going to jump around. I'm not House of Pain. No.
I get it.
Okay. Anyways. But yeah, it's a good song. Not a highlight to me, but it's a good song. I enjoyed this one.
Yeah.
Track 10 comes in at 251. It's called Clean Cut Heels. Synth sounding intro on this one, which falls out to bass and vocals in a verse. The chorus is this amazing amalgamation of 80s funk and dance with sing-along chorus with Bert here. And lyrically, I found this song to be apparently about his experience with leaving the Mormon church. So that was the only thing that I could find in relation to information I could find on this one. Which makes sense with some of the lyrical content. So he references, I wish I would have written this down too, he references being too, what is that? I believe he said obscene or something for the church. So it was questioning, why he was leaving. Am I too much, basically, for you?
Oh. Mm-hmm.
So that's what I got out of this one. It's a fun song, upbeat. I enjoyed it. Again, like, we're deep into the album now. The standouts generally are in the prior, like in the early parts of albums. But this is still a fun track, and I really enjoyed this one.
All right. For me, this is definitely a standout. It's very odd for the Used. I feel like it's their almost their poppiest song to date. As far as taking that kind of a like almost has like a club beat to it. Great vocal distortions on the track, funky bass beat, like you said. Hardly any guitar at all in the song. A couple riffs into the chorus. Other than that, it sounds kind of like you said, someone who's stuck in a painful relationship and saying that basically clean cut heals more beautiful. I won't ever leave. And basically saying like, you need to end this relationship or I'm going to be here forever. So for me, I found it more relating to a relationship and making kind of a clean break. For me, this is one of my top 3 tracks of the album. I just love the overall sound. It's very, very catchy to me, and very different. Like if you would have put out a song by, one of the bands that I listen to that sounds totally different from stuff they've been doing before, like this, I would have been like, it's okay. But this song really hits for me.
Yeah, it definitely works for them, for sure. Like I said, I didn't hate it. There hasn't been a bad song yet. So
yeah. But
if we're ranking things, I don't think it would be my personal top 3, but it's because there are other ones that I felt stand out more. A contender for maybe top 5, I would say. So, yeah. What's what are we on now?
Heartwork.
Heartwork. Still you.
Yep. So Heartwork, 1 minute, 22 seconds. Again, an interlude. Kind of got some chants going on in the background. Again, some cool production techniques that were done. Bert's vocals in this one kind of remind me of "I'm a Fake," which which is a song that I obviously am super familiar with from their earlier albums. Kind of sounds uses a lot of lyrical violence, but takes it with a positive tone. And just talking about basically kind of killing each other with kindness. So it seems like kind of a transition point for the album, kind of interluding into the next song.
Yeah, you referenced that's a vocal or that's a lyric too, from one of the spoken word poems, from old stuff too. The Killing with Kindness. I forget. I don't think that's verbatim, but it's something of that sort. It might be. I don't know. That sounds really familiar now. So yeah, the album title interlude serves as the build into the next track. I mentioned here, this isn't the first time, but Bert loves his poetry. There's a quote that I'd found on this one too, because I really wanted to know what this was from. Especially being the title track, it has to have some significance. He quotes here, "There's a little arrangement on a song we've made with a really special poem of mine. That's the title track for this record. The poem has been around probably since 2012. Wrote it in a kind of horrible moment, a violent moment, an extreme moment, but you've captured it. And so you have that feeling, and you have that little capsule of that moment ready whenever you want to pull it out, wherever you want to pull it out. And if it's good, you can read it 5-6 years later and be like, yeah, I still feel that." So there's no more context on it. I don't know what he's referencing, but there is significance behind it, which led to obviously the name of the album too. So there's incredible significance behind this. And this stems from, almost 10 years ago. So.
Yeah. And it's also, kind of a play on their logo that they've adapted over the years with their heart from In Love and Death. And then it's not like it's been present on every album, but it's something that if you were to show that heart logo to somebody, they're going to know right away who it is. And then
on that, I have a wristband with the logo. So this is, if it's not wiped off, which it is, this was a wristband. And I talk about the significance of the band for me, but this wristband especially. I played guitar in a band for many years. You know this already. Some people that listen to our podcast know this. One of the things that you wear is a wristband so you don't rub off the paint and then destroy your forearm on the guitar when you're playing. It also was a style thing for a little while, right? The punk rock, the pop punk bands, you would wear these things. It became really trendy. So I found one in probably 2003, 2004-ish, with this logo, which makes sense if it was 2004 because that's around the time they adapted, like you said, that logo. And throughout the bands around that time for several years, it's worn. Like if you could see it, the color's all distorted and this thing probably smells. It's never been washed. But it's something I wore at every show. So that's how much this band meant to me, to wear their logo and wear their stuff and just be so proud to be a fan of them. So, but yeah, that's the logo, which you referenced. I figured that's a good time to share that. So,
well, and also playing off of their previous album, Heartwork. So Heartwork's just to play on words from their earlier albums and kind of tying it all together.
Yes. So yeah, Heartwork, another one that was probably, gosh, that was several years ago now too.
Yeah, 10 years ago or so.
Good God.
Yeah.
They put out a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Back to me.
Back to you.
Track 12 here. We're getting through this, guys. Don't worry. Track 12 here is called The Lighthouse, and it has another guest artist on this one. This one features Mark Hoppus, which if you're unfamiliar with him, he is best known as the bass player and vocalist for Blink-182, as well as Plus 44. And he has guested on so many other projects, including a side project that he was most recently part of. Gosh, what is the duo called now? Him and another vocalist. I don't know. Lana would know because we've listened to this. They had that pop-up music video. I don't know. Maybe she's still listening. Maybe she'll pop in with that. But anyways, Mark Hoppus, you best know him for his spot in Blink-182 as the bass player and vocalist for that. In this one, it's a chill track, clean vocals or clean guitars and a hip hop beat almost behind it. Verse with vocal is built into the guest spot for Mark Hoppus, which builds into the sing-along chorus. And man, if you're not belting this one out when it comes in, when that chorus kicks, I Can Be Your Lighthouse, I don't know what you're doing with yourself. Because wherever you're at, if you're in the car driving, especially if you're by yourself and no one can judge you, you're yelling that chorus out. Simple Creatures, thank you, Lana. Are you familiar with that band?
I'm not.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Might be an upcoming review for us then. It's a collaboration project. They've put out 2 EPs.
Oh, yeah, I'll check into it.
Yeah, like 6 tracks each. But yeah, Simple Creatures. Fun. I think it's up your alley. We'll find out. Maybe we'll do a review. Older stuff is a couple years ago now. But so yeah, I Could Be Your Lighthouse. The chorus is driven with a marching snare and drops back out for the verses, back into the hip-hop styling. Ends with some funk bass with a little bit of a breakdown. And there's it's even soloed for a section until it comes back in. Like fun track. I really enjoyed this one. This might be one of those top 3 ones again. So the information I found on here, it says the song title could easily be a reference to the book To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf. After a Google search, I found out that Bert actually tweeted out a reference to the book before, years ago. So something tells me that it's a nod to that. Unless you have more info. So what do you got?
So I do have a little more info, but not directly relating to literary reference. So yeah, like you said, featuring Mark Hoppus. Mark Hoppus has done a lot of guest spots on songs and done a lot of production work. So just aside from Blink-182, he helped produce Commit This to Memory, which is one of my favorite albums from Ocean City soundtrack. So yeah, very heavily involved in pop punk and that whole genre around it, everything in between. So yeah, it had a kind of a funky bass line, which reminded me of kind of the bass line from Clean Cuts in the chorus. So really enjoyed that. Like you said, as far as the I Can Be Your Lighthouse chorus, I mean, it's, yeah, you belt it out. Like, how do you not? And it's repetitive, but it works. It works really well. This one, the song kind of speaks to a destructive relationship, and the other person still relying on them to kind of be their rock. And I actually found out that it was I Can't Be Your Lighthouse was initially how he had it phrased. And then he played the songs for his daughter, and his daughter didn't like it, and she said you should change it to Can, and he did. Which gives it a whole different meaning. I can be your lighthouse versus I can't be your lighthouse. Totally changes the whole direction and meaning of the song. Have you seen the music video for this one?
I want to say I have. I don't remember, though.
So this one, they did a tribute to medical workers, firemen, policemen.
Oh, okay.
I yeah. See this one. So again, trying to be our lighthouse through COVID and trying to help people heal, stay safe. Great song to do that tribute on, and really great music video. So definitely check into that. As far as they featured a lot of people, probably 100 plus different people throughout the video that sent in their own submissions. Keep it all COVID safe. So great song.
Andrea got back to us too. So Simple Creatures is him, Mark Hoppus, with the vocalist and guitarist and keyboardist from All Time Low. So this is the main guy there, and Mark Hoppus. So those two are a duo to do a super duo.
That was the last concert I've seen.
Well, there you go. It might be up your alley then. It's right. A fun. Yeah. There's some good tracks from what I've heard. So check them out. That might be a review coming soon.
Cool.
Is it you? Yeah, it's still you.
Yep. Yeah, so next one we've got is Obvious Blase. 2 minutes, 52 seconds. This song features Travis Barker.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got 2/3 of the original Blink-182. And, well, not original, but we can go there.
But I was going to say, wait a second.
I know. I knew you were going to call me out on it, but the more well-known Blink-182. How about that? So, this one, I mean, it's got really technical drum beats. Sounds like a classic used song. And lyrically, I mean, it kind of sounds like the end result of Big Wannabe. Is kind of what I kind of put out from it. So I felt like those two songs were closely related. But I wanted to love it because it's got Travis Barker on it. Because he's done a lot of good features, and as you said, with pop punk making a comeback, he's done a lot of stuff with stuff that's been hitting the radio. But for me, I guess I was expecting more from the drums with Travis Barker. Not that he doesn't bring it, because he does, but yeah, it wasn't one of my top tracks.
Yeah, so, I mean, my notes are pretty much the same on this. I said it's a fun signature style song by the Use, so similar to what you said. This is their sound and style. You would know it if you heard this song. But yeah, nothing to write home about. It does capture all their styles, even with the strings and violins, organ in the background. There are always layers of heavy in their tracks to make them sound really full. Props to the sound engineers. So I can't emphasize them enough for what they've done over the years for this band. Makes it sound full and fun. I love it. And yes, this track does feature Travis Barker, again, drummer of Blink-182 and a million other projects currently. But it doesn't show him off. Like, he didn't show up.
Yeah,
I don't want to say it's phoned in, but like, if you're going to guest on something, make it notice, because if I hadn't told you, or if they hadn't told us, I wouldn't have known. There's nothing in there. Even like, you could say his snare sound, but even that's like tuned to what the engineers wanted for it. Because he does have a sound on his snare, by the way. He has many sounds, but there's one that he uses more than others. But yeah, we wouldn't have known. The only hints, and this is like reaching for like an example of something, would be the breakdown before the last chorus, which sounds like a nod to the distorted drum effect in the beginning of I'm Feeling This by Blink years ago. That is the only thing I'm like trying to reach for an example of something. And that's your signature? That's not a good signature. So, it's not bad. But again, this is not a showcase of his work. And to be honest, he hasn't showcased a lot of his amazing styling in years. I don't know if the plane accident had to do anything with it. I don't know if getting older has to do anything with it. He is not the same drummer that he was in the 2000s. His style is there. He's a great drummer. Don't get me wrong. He is fantastic and nails it on everything he does. But he's just not, there's something not the same. And I don't know if it's the music he's featured on that's just not showcasing him well, but there's something not the same. We can even go back to Boxcar Racer. That was very experimental.
Yeah.
And he even showcased his drumming skills on that one. There's a variety. And I get it. It's one feature track on another band's album. But I don't know. If you're going to guest him, make it a point to show him off. Because he can, or he used to be able to. I don't know. Lana says it's that damn Kardashian he's engaged to. She's kidding, she says.
So if you're looking for a song featuring more of his skills, that's modern. Kenny Hoopla has a song that's featuring Travis Barker called Stella, or Estella. So that's great. Great track to check out. Very, very pop punk feel, and great drum work by Travis Barker on that one. So
he's also on "Bite Me" by Avril Lavigne, her new single, and he's in the video, so there you go.
And just a million other faux pop punk ones that are coming out now.
Whoa, Avril Lavigne's faux pop punk?
No, I'm not saying her. I'm saying a lot
She's
of
the motherfucking pop punk princess.
A lot of solo people that are trying to go pop punk.
Yeah, like MGK.
Yeah, well, MGK just I think he's featured on one of his.
He is.
But so is Bert. So
He is. Yeah, they both are. So
yeah.
yeah, people said that MGK lost so hard in a rap battle that he got kicked out of the genre when he lost
Right.
to Eminem. No, it's the man trying to reinvent himself in a genre he had to get out of because he wasn't doing big things in it. In all honesty, he's ahead of the game. He's at the forefront of a style that's making a comeback. So if anything,
Yeah.
he made a smart career move. Hate the man if you will, but look who he's with. I ain't hating on him. Back to the review though. Me still you? Who is it?
You're up next with the lottery.
The lottery 14. After this, after 16, I stopped numbering them because I numbered the bonus tracks starting back at 1. So, 14, the lottery coming in at 244. Heavy hat heavy is what I kick this thing off with. If you listen to the song, you know what I mean. The track kicks off really heavy and then drops off into a swing style almost in the verse. It builds on vocals and drums into the chorus, drops to vocals just before the chorus, fully kicks in. Anything where just everything drops and then it comes in, it's like a punch of sound and music, which is one of the same. But love it. So I was very happy with that. Why are my notes disappearing? It features another guest vocalist too. Did it reference a guest vocalist? Because I wrote that in my notes.
It did. Yep.
It did. Okay, because for whatever reason the title track usually references, but it's not here. So
Yeah.
it features a guest vocalist
Caleb
from Caleb Shomo, known now for Beartooth, formerly a member of Attack Attack. Both bands that I enjoy. Absolutely love Attack Attack. Most people have mixed opinions on them, but they're a fun band. Really heavy, hardcore stuff if you like that style. Same with Beartooth. So let me get our connection stable here. We are dropping out frames. I don't know if you're still with me. Can you hear me?
Yep.
My computer's just all over the place today. So that's wonderful. Every time we try to do a damn podcast, it goes all over the place. Encoding overloaded. Consider turning down. No, I didn't change anything, OBS. Stop effing with me. Good Lord, can we just get through an episode? Gotta love it. So yeah, it features guest vocalists from Beartooth, another post-hardcore band. He's prominently featured in the heavy breakdown of this track, as that shows off his style from that band. An overall great heavy track. I really enjoyed this one.
All right.
Got one more note. Sorry, I had to go to my next page. So I have a quote on this one. The song is based around a short story written by Shirley Jackson. The story details an annual rite called the Lottery and deals mainly with the theme of traditions. Bert explained he feels this theme is even more relevant now than when the author wrote the story, as there are so many things about our lives and the world we take for granted and do not question even though they hurt us. So that was a quote from Bert on the track that I had found. Go on, sorry.
All right. Yeah, I was going to say, I think you missed the literary aspect, but you got it.
I did, yeah. I had to go to the next page in my notes.
Yeah, that might help. Caleb Shomo, as he said, heavy first album vibes kind of out the gate with this one. Really love the heavy guitars in this one. The breakdowns between choruses, guitar solos with screaming that kind of into the very end. It's just great. One of my top tracks on the album, I would say. Again, another short story reference. Talks about blindly following a ritual or kind of a culturally accepted practice. Did you look into what the lottery was as far as the story or what the ritual is?
I did not.
So basically, like, it's this town of people, they randomly hold a lottery to choose someone that they will put to death, basically stone them to death. And you'll hear like fire away and stuff where people basically are presumably throwing rocks at this person, and it's supposed to bring good luck to their town or their village or prosperity to them. I think it has meanings in modern day culture as far as things that you do just without thinking. And lyrically and vocally, I really like this one. You know, with the "Please don't hurt me. And, just a lot of really cool stylings to this one, and, really bringing it with the screaming that he can no longer do effectively, is done great with a guest vocal. So again, you bring in a guest vocal person or a guest on an album to have them bring something to your song that either you can't do as well as you used to, or that will feature their talents well and make other people look into them. And I feel like they really nailed it with this one with their guest vocalist.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's sad that he can't anymore, but if you're familiar with his stage performances in the early work, with his screaming, we talked about it earlier, that what he does for his throat throughout the sets so he can get through a normal set of just singing. The man would scream so hard on stage that he was known for vomiting. Like, that's giving it your all and a little bit too much. So,
yeah.
Lana says the lottery traumatized me when I read it. I don't think I read that, to be honest. I'm familiar.
I didn't. Nope, I have not read it either.
So,
but the premise sounds pretty messed up.
Yeah, very much so. Back to you, still.
Yeah. So next up, we got Darkness Bleeds, FOTF, and what? Oh yeah, Fire the Flood. So heavy snare. Builds into guitars and drums, and then we've got some violins, like you said, with the used. They like to use their strings, and they feature them very well on this song. Goes into more of industrial, almost EDM like beat, but it works. It works well. Let's see. "Cover Me When Darkness Bleeds In" is one of the lyrics from it. Kind of painful past and reliance on another for comfort is lyrically kind of what I was taking away from it. Let's see. Hear the Silence. There's basically like a more of a chant going on that's featured in this one, with that hear the silence, hear the silence, which almost sounds like women's vocals in the background, which is again different for the used, but works really well in the song. It isn't overdone or overly featured. So yeah, and then it has a good piano breakdown and tempo change at the end. So again, really good track as we're getting close to the end of the album. One of the better songs on the album for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. To recap on the lottery one too, Lana says they read it in English class. You don't know they're getting stoned to death until the very end. It's a twist, and you think it's this amazing thing, and then they surprise you at the end. It's horrific. Yeah, sounds like an interesting read.
Good. Sounds good.
So yeah, Darkness Bleeds, Fire or the Flood. Heavy intro with a breakbeat verse, very fast pace. This builds into the same pace, but with heavy guitars into the chorus. So it just builds, but keeps the frantic pace going throughout. Sing along with Bert continues on this one. Can't help but feel hype. The back and forth continue with the verse and chorus. There is, however, an instrumental breakdown. This is where the track kind of slows down for a little bit too. So there are a lot of peaks and dips. There's a lot of variety to this one. It's a fun ride, if you will. Yes. I tend to like that in my tracks. Every now and then it's good to have a straightforward flow to a song. But maybe this is just us being groomed with orchestra growing up. Orchestra didn't have structure, right? There's flow to it. There's emotions that you experience throughout it. Very seldomly did you return to a chorus or a hook, if you will. Generally, it is littered in there, but not as cookie cutter as top 40 radio is. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's safe music. This one had variety, and I enjoy that in their stuff. So yeah, nice variety, really good track. They reference Fire the Flood and other things too. We'll get to that. It's referenced again. Closing out the original album here, before the expansion pack, if you will. Track 16, To Feel Something, coming in at 256. Initially, if this was just the closing of the actual album, which it was back then, acoustic piano outro for what was the original album length, is what I have for notes, serves as a great outro for that original album, as they digress from so much emotion and energy that was on this album thus far. The build grows heavy and dark as they exit this track. Possibly one of the most relatable vocalists out there for me, is what I have. Just to give example of why I've become and have been so attached to them for 20 years. So amazing stuff. He's one of those people that I would love to just sit down and have a conversation with. What we talk about, I don't know. I'd figure it out then, but
Right.
I would love to have a moment. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. To feel something kind of starts off differently. Like you think it's going to be faster. It kind of starts off almost with like a bagpipe like sound with bass building. In the bass beat, initially when I first heard it, that's kind of slowly building, growing louder and louder and louder. Reminded me of Something Is Not Right With Me by the Cold War Kids.
Mm-hmm.
So that, and then it just drops off and it goes into like a slow acoustic breakdown with piano. And some of, I would say, Bert's best vocal work that I've heard in general throughout all of their albums. Really powerful stuff, to feel something. I mean, everyone has had that point where they are just kind of going through life and they're not really feeling it. They want something to connect with, someone to connect with, and especially through, COVID, a lot of people are feeling that. So, yeah, I just want to feel something. Anything is better than this. Again, heavy industrial beats and bass, leading into a screaming of the chorus and a powerful closeout. So yeah, just great way to wrap up the whole original album.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not going to give you a preview of my score, but if we were reviewing the just original track list, I would have been very favorable of it and very positive on it. So to give you some insight thus far where we're headed, it's a solid album. So if you haven't heard the album, the original format even, listen to it. You're missing out, honestly. And this goes for any genre-liking individual. Unless you like country, then you probably won't like this. But, so let's head over to the expansion pack. If you will, let's have you continue this thing.
All right. So first track we've got on there is the Night Sea Journey. 4 minutes, 27 seconds. It's got kind of a guitar and xylophone like intro. Echoing lyrics kind of match the feel of the overall song. Seems like to me more of a optimistic song. Search for kind of paradise and pushing through to basically see the rainbow to get to the light at the end of the tunnel. So again, like lyrically, I really enjoyed this track. Really good, but I can see why it was not included in the original album, just thematically. Musically, it could fit anywhere for them, and I feel like it could have. It really matches the overall sounds that they displayed throughout the album, but lyrically doesn't really match with a lot of the original albums. So excellent for a deluxe album and great way to start off the deluxe album.
Yeah, that's definitely what's interesting about recording 27 tracks and then finding a theme, right? A lot of bands do this. So a lot of bands, when they put together an album, there's more songs out there. Whether they recorded them or not, we don't know. Sometimes they do just to have them in their catalog. They may release them down the road that might fit more thematically with whatever they're putting out. Styles change, and it might be fitting more to a style that's upcoming that wasn't yet. It could be something retroactively coming back, into style. So yeah, it's one of those things you can tell sometimes. You're like, this is a bonus track. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but thematically, it's not what was before it in the album itself. So yeah. So bringing us into the deluxe part of the album with this, we are brought in gently. Slow builds into a chorus, which seemed fitting to the track name itself. It is a journey, right? The verses are calm in the pre-chorus and chorus are very upbeat and driven. And there's more references in this one to the in this track to the flood. So they mention the fire and the flood in this one again. So they talk about the flood. I thought I had notes on that. I just didn't remember which track. Previous example was in the fire and flood earlier in the album, and then the track for this one ends pretty heavy. So it's a good track. I didn't hate this one, but if you wanted to throw it again as a relatable one to the album that it's on now with the deluxe, it doesn't not fit, but it doesn't fit, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Next one, if my notes would stop disappearing. What's going on with my tablet today? All technology. Damn. Gotta love it. The brothers, Karamazov.
There you go.
Is that how it goes?
Yep.
Okay. We tried. We succeeded. Can't help but feel the Nirvana type influence on this one. For whatever reason, I thought Nirvana. I don't know why, but this is very 90s alternative with the used spin on it. This one stands out stylistically, and that's not a bad thing. It's got a good vibe to it. Again, very 90s for whatever reason. Maybe it's their own influence. These guys aren't young. Keep in mind, we said that they've been around full albums for 20 years. They're older than us. They've been doing their thing for a while. So it makes sense their formative years was a band like Nirvana. So who knows, though? Not my favorite, but again, it's a bonus track. I can't complain. It's got fun retro vibe to it. I dig it. Mm-hmm. It's just, again, it's a bonus track. It doesn't fit with the album. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you had the brothers Karamazov, as you were trying to get out there, you didn't think, oh, maybe I should look that one up? Because that actually, it is a Dostoevsky book. Like 800-page book called that. So basically about brothers, and has themes of free will, God, and morality. So not anything that I've read, because I don't read any 800-some-page books, and it's very old literary reference. So not too many people I know that go around reading Dostoevsky, even though it is fun to say. So it sounds like basically lyrically, it sounds like seeing similarities of himself and his father, and kind of wanting to be different. So how these brothers kind of want to be their own person and not be seen for their mistakes or their father's mistakes or whatever. So again, it was a good literary tie-in, like you said, with the sound, had that kind of 90s feel to it. Really cool song, and kind of introduced me to this book. Again, I don't see myself getting into a book that long, but literary, like as far as it being a book that was written, I think a long time, a couple hundred years ago, is what I'm seeing. It's like well regarded as one of the top works of literary fiction. So yeah, it's very cool track, and kind of I could see where that would have been pieced in if they were going with some more of those literary songs, because they had 2, 3, 4, whatever on the original album, but also not totally fitting with the theme of the album. So I see why it wasn't included, but yeah, great song.
I'll have to brush up on my 200 years ago literature.
Yeah, good luck.
Right.
Yeah. So up next, we've got River Stay at 3 minutes and 3 seconds. So this one was kind of a more mellow song about not being able to kind of forgive their ex. Is kind of what I was taking from it lyrically. They felt very jaded by them. I said it was a good song, not very complex. Definitely felt like a B-side for me.
Yeah, another ballad here. There was a lot of ballads on the B-side here, if you will, the bonus tracks, the slower feel to it, which again is fine. It doesn't fit with the energy of the album, which is, I realized why it was cut. But yeah, another ballad track, straightforward musically. Lyrically, I do want to emphasize the line, "Forgive you is the last thing I'd ever do." I was like, oh, someone's upset.
Jaded.
Yeah.
Very.
So, yeah, that's great. I said it's a relatable track. There's a lot of situations where pride, in my past has gotten the best of me. And that's the one thing that clearly stands in their way too. So, forgive you is the last thing I'd ever do. Well, maybe that's why you're in this situation. Communication was clearly lacking. But still relatable. I understand. Been there. You can't fault someone as long as maybe they learned from it or they made a track out of it. So they got something out of it. So good job.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fine. It's our third one here into this extended play, Deluxe Edition. It's fine. I don't hate it. It's fine. I don't know what else to say. Our next one, our fourth one here on this Deluxe. I'm going to butcher everything. Why do I keep getting these? Mi medicina, mi heroina.
Nailed it.
Awesome. All right. So my heroin, my medicine, basically. Drugs. Surprise. I am not. Electronic opening with a fun 80s included drum machine, so you get a little bit of 808 on it, is what it sounded like. I really enjoyed the upbeat music accompanying with the sarcastic vocals describing, from what I could tell, a relationship. Quote in here, "I'm not an easy guy to be around, but you're no piece of cake, baby." And I don't know why I sounded like Duke Nukem there, but baby. Because that's not how he sounds on this.
No.
We'll act like that didn't happen.
Don't sample that if you want more from this album.
No, Jesus Christ. Also, no need to feel lonely forever in hell with you. Whew. This man's got demons, and I like it. So yeah, this was a fun track. I liked this one.
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, pop electronic produced kind of drum beats at the beginning, fast paced, kind of loving their partner as they are, focusing on things that are kind of less discussed in relationships or ballads or love songs, about the negatives of a relationship, like you said, no piece of cake. But overall connected with love. So I thought the lyrics were very relatable because, every relationship has that, where you're going through, some stuff, and no one hates you. No one hates me like you do, is like kind of basically what he says in the song. Yeah. And I mean, it's true. I mean, you love your partner more than anything, and at times you hate your partner more than anything because you're with them constantly. So, it's great. It's, I felt like this could have honestly fit in the original album as far as, lyrically. I mean, it's got a lot of relationship stuff in it, which the initial album does as well. But, this one kind of surprised me. It ended up as a B-side when it could have, for me, easily fit into the original album.
Yeah. Batman says, wow, that's deep. So, Batman, did you get a chance in chat here? Batman in chat. Did you get a chance to listen to this? Just curious your thoughts. But yeah, fun track, man. Fun track. I'm glad they included some of these on here. So,
yeah.
So what we got next?
Up next, we got Blood Meridian at 2 minutes 45 seconds. This one starts off very alternative sound. Again, this one sounds like another kind of toxic relationship that he's going through. Let's see, I said Bert kind of dips his toes into pop/electronic music on the chorus breakdown. But the song kind of builds into a metal and screaming finish. Great variety on this track. Like you said, as far as what you look for in a song, and a great drum outro to finish it. So yeah, this one kind of had all of the staples of a great song that I would listen to over and over again, because it's kind of all over the place. When it started off very alternative, that genre has never been my thing, so I was kind of wondering where they're going with it, but then again, it kind of dabbles in a lot of things, and it works really well.
Yeah. Orders MX. Thank you for the hosts. What's going on, man? So yeah, Blood Meridian. Fade in with music, which fully comes in with the drums and heavy guitars. It drops back into just drum and bass for the verse. Again, classic styling for the crazy vocals and these clean verses from Bert. He loves divulging into madness with his style. And yo, Lana, thank you for the host. He finds a way to convey that very well. You know, his methods into madness. So builds into a heavy chorus with Bert seemingly losing his mind on this one. I love the dark tones to it, lyrically describing madness and violence and insanity. And I love the exit from the track with just fast drums and vocals. So I really enjoyed this one. This is those notes that I look for, like you had said. Like this is great extra track. So
yeah, it could have been part of the original as well. I feel like these last two really could have fit right in there.
Yeah, most definitely. Our next one here is back to me, right?
Yep.
Brain Unguent.
Unguent?
Unguent? I've never used that word in my life. What does that mean? So I know. Does anyone know? Unguent? Unguent? I don't know. Have you used that word in your life?
I have not, and I am a wordsmith of sorts.
I was going to say, yeah.
I honestly just didn't have the time to look into the definition of unguent, but it intrigues me.
Yeah, someone look up Unguent. Unguent, he says, is the pronunciation for that.
Send the people on a mission.
Yeah, I've never used that word. Put it in a form of a sentence. Unguent is a difficult word to describe.
Yeah.
Thank you. We dropped a piano and slowing things down in this one, and for me it was an interlude type track as it's just over a minute in length. It feels like a dream state and a bridge for the track to come, possibly lyrically being a one-sided in a relationship, saying they only think of him when he is gone. I don't know. Do you have anything else to dive into in that? I didn't. Maybe,
not really.
Maybe Unguent describes it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like you said, interlude kind of sounds like a kind of relationship reflection, but yeah, not much more than that. It's definitely an interlude, and I feel like I can kind of see where they were going with if they chose kind of a different theme, or if they kind of changed their theme midway through the original album. I could see this one transitioning into some of the last tracks into this album, this deluxe album part of it. So I could see where that would have been used overall if the theme was a little different in the initial album.
So Lana has provided us with the description.
Okay.
A soft, greasy, or vicious substance used as ointment or for lubrication.
Nice.
What? How do you even come across like utilizing that word? It's again his literary genius is what it is. The man has read every book probably. Because who uses that word? I've never heard that word in my life.
Such a great word, though.
It really is. But when would I use it? You know, like when is this going to come up? I'm going to find a way one day to use unguent. Oh, it is pronounced unguent. Yo. I don't know. I got lucky because honestly I had no clue. That was just a guess. I'm pretending like I knew it. But I'm pleasantly surprised I'm right for once.
To be determined.
To be determined, he says. Hey, Google is never wrong. I Googled it. Anyway. What are we back on? Who is it? You or me?
I think it's me, right?
Sure,
yeah.
We'll go with you.
Yeah. Playing the Victim. 2 minutes, 21 seconds. So yeah, this one, again, it starts off with drums, singing, kind of electronic beat behind it. Very catchy chorus. This one, I felt like it could be placed right into Love and Death. Very kind of emo rooted. Which, I mean, obviously a lot of their music sounds, emo mixed with all of the other sounds that they've got going on. and it's a label that they've embraced over the years. So, but yeah, it sounds like a song. Playing the victim, kind of talking about their ex and playing the victim. So, yeah, really. I mean, it's a good short song that fits their style pretty well.
Solana chimed in more. She said she did Google that word and listened to it because she didn't believe I was right.
See? Do you see why I questioned it?
No, come on. I'm not that stupid. I do have a channel called Nerd Acumen. I'm going to move on now. It's still my turn. Playing the victim here is what I'll be doing for all these slights against me. I see what you're doing. Playing the victim, a soft tone track continues on this one as it builds to an 80s type driven beat track, more upbeat. I'm using the word beat a lot. I need to get my thesaurus out. More unguent. I used it. I told you I would. Oh my god. So more upbeat in the chorus for this one. Lyrically questioning, will they be the same without someone? Loneliness hurts, and Bert has many demons related to this. If it hasn't been half of the songs in their career, sadly. But if you've read stories on the things that he's gone through and dealt with, understandable. So, yeah, decent track. Don't hate this one. Could have been on the album. I agree. Glad it's on the bonus. Glad we got it, but not my favorite. So.
Yeah, I agree. It's not a top track for me, even on the deluxe.
Still me. Yes. Operation Me. It's all about me. Our 8th bonus here, Operation Me. This builds like many classic used tracks with distorted guitars building with drums into a then driven clean verse. Fun, upbeat song once it finally gets going, and a good build into the chorus with their signature drop out again, like I had mentioned I enjoy, before the chorus comes in. Lyrically describing an operation on his own feelings and broken heart, and overall good track.
Yeah, I agree. It feels, like I said, it's got guitars that are growing louder, slowly building. Feels very album-like, like something you would hear on an album, very polished. Seems like a very literal dissection of his feelings that are discussed, and with a little bit of a guitar solo towards the end, which you don't hear a lot in later used albums. Some of that in the earlier stuff. So it was a nice, welcome change, and yeah, I feel like it also could have been one that could have easily fit on the initial album.
Yeah, that is a valid point too. With this new guitarist, who again, shout out for tweeting it or liking our photo on Instagram. We tweeted you, thanking you for that. Maybe he's really into soloing. We don't know yet. Maybe this is like a testing the waters, if you will. So,
yeah, kind of like with some 41, like they had the Brown sound in there, and he had some of that early guitar solo stuff. In the initial albums, they went away from that for a couple of years, went more pop punk, and then when they got him back in the band, they started adding those layers, those kind of metal layers or guitar solos back into their songs.
I like what they did though, and not to get way off topic, but I like what they did with God, what was the name? Because they had a fake band within Sum 41, their metal version of themselves.
Pain for Pleasure.
Thank you. Which they actually teased in Fat Lip way back in the day when they started getting commercial success.
Yes.
So like that was their way of getting away with it, but yeah, still selling albums to the pop punk skater kids. And because that dude shreds. He shreds. And yes, I'm glad he's got to showcase that in their most recent stuff. Because when he left, he was in a metal band, I believe. Right?
Yeah. He did some stuff in between, definitely. And then when they wanted to embrace that sound again, and then he came back, it was nice. It was great to hear them not try to put out songs directly for the radio anymore, and just put out the metal stuff that inspired them initially.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about them one day. I'd like to do a band showcase, and maybe step into that for a little while. Do like an icons thing, like our favorite bands, and talking about favorite things about them and then highlighting specific albums in a quicker fashion than a complete breakdown like this. Maybe that'll be the future of this podcast. Who knows? We got a lot of stuff we could talk about. There's so much music out there that this show could never end. Literally, could never end. But we must continue. So yeah, what was that? As I did get off topic, now I got derailed.
So that was Operation Me, and then I'll take over Love Heart.
Thank you.
All right. So Love Heart, 3 minutes 52 seconds. So this song basically sounds like he's struggling to balance touring with family life. So I mean, everyone has had that kind of work home struggle. Song of heartache and missing out on different basically family moments, watching him through his phone rather than being there in person to experience it. So yeah, I mean, it's a song about cherishing family moments, kind of when you have them, and directly mentions his daughters by name. The overall song, the sound, the kind of passion in his voice really comes through, and I think I mainly wrote about the lyrics just because, again, you can tell he's writing it for his kids, which is, I mean, unheard of really for the Used. But it's great because, I mean, let's face it, the Used has a lot of fans that are having kids or that have kids that are growing up or, you know, that are taking their kids to the Used concerts now. And this really speaks to those fans. So excellent track.
So this has become a common thing that we reach to in our podcasts here. We've been reviewing a lot of bands that have been around a while. Almost all the bands, I believe, that we've reviewed thus far have had a career preceding the albums we've reviewed. Meaning they're at, I don't want to say the last legs, because you never know. Like Rolling Stones went on for God knows, way too long. But like, yeah, they're having families. Like the content is changing. It's evolving. For those without kids, I'm not encouraging with this statement to have children. Do what is best for you. If you can. If you can't, obviously many apologies there. But there is something that changes. You still can have, like, parents can still be selfish and horrible people. That still is a thing. But for a good chunk of us, you lose a little bit of that. You have to be selfless for another human being that relies on you to survive. And when it's your offspring, or even if it's not your offspring, when you give that much care and compassion to something, you probably become pretty attached, I would say, right? So a lot of that's love and passion, and it is conveyed in this track. So to describe the track, clean guitars resemble early Used, especially when the drums come in. I do like the feeling of the notes I've heard before on this. Very straightforward, and it tells the story, like you had said, being away, from his kids, coming home after, and he references coming home after the war. So the war that is trying to make it out there, that's the battlefields. That's the front lines. He's out there grinding every city, every tour, every track, pouring his heart out to make a living, to provide for his kids so they have a better future. Like, everyone wants fame and stardom, but you have to sacrifice and surrender something. And he's lost that. This privilege that we have coming home every day from work and being with our families, that is not a privilege he has currently. And he's missing moments. And like you said, viewing it through a phone. That's got to be heartbreaking. Mm-hmm. And people are like, well, he's got fame. He can do whatever he wants. He's got all the money. Like, some people don't want that. Like, that's his job. He wants to make a living and provide. Like, would fame be fantastic? I'm sure it would. But, like, when you have one thing, as we said earlier, you're always wishing for that other. It doesn't matter. You could have the world. There's something that you will not have, and you're always going to crave and want it. So that whole conversation that we opened with is kind of coming full circle here on this particular track. So yeah, this one definitely resonates. I I've never been away like that. I've been on vacation away from my kids, and it sucks for a week. I can only imagine for months. You know?
Yeah.
It's got to be tough. So, yeah. Great, good song. Another one with a rare guitar solo. That's very good, and it exits with the solo behind the chorus as we, build out of this one or digress. So, nice track. Love Heart. Very good. Could have been on the album.
Yeah.
Sing Out of Tune is our 10th of the 11 here, so we're almost done. Breakbeat beatboxing, which I hadn't heard beatboxing in forever. Fun fact, I had a song called The Cure that I wrote back circa 2003, 2004-ish, that actually had beatboxing on it, which was kind of popular again back then. And it's been a long time since I've heard beatbox, especially in rock music. So he had some of this styling early on, too. There was some tracks later throughout the first couple albums, or maybe third-ish album. I can't remember.
Yeah, say Lies for the Liars. Yeah. Some tracks on there where they got a little more experimental.
Yep. So it's a nice little nod to stuff that they experimented before making a comeback. So this one's a ballad, lyrically very poetic. Bert is, again, definitely inspired by poetry and literature. The broken ones, as I mentioned already, are almost always the ones with the genius souls. Chorus that layers of himself are sung throughout this track. And then I said, it's not out of tune, though. That's my joke, because he didn't actually sing out of tune.
Yeah.
Your turn.
I get it.
Your turn.
All right. So yeah, lyrically, like you said, beatbox intro is unusual, but welcomed. Again, I mean, it's not anything where they overdo it. They kind of still find their way back to their sound, and they don't go too far off the rails. So yeah, I mean, lyrically, it kind of sounds like they're mentioning, about talking about like passing away. Lift your head. You can see you're not the only one. So a lot of people that are going through struggles or that are kind of letting go of loved ones, then just kind of a song that's relatable to that. And, as you're gone, you can sing out of tune, you can do whatever you want because you don't have someone to annoy. You'll be kind of doing your own thing. So, yeah, I like the song. Definitely different for them, but a good song. But I can see with it not being a real theme throughout the album, the actual release of the album, why it wasn't included. And it's a little, slower pace for them.
Yeah, which we're seeing a lot of the bonus tracks are on the slower side, which is fine.
Yep.
It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
What's our last one?
See You in Hell.
Oh, that's rude.
Yeah, probably true. See You in Hell, 3 minutes and 3 minutes and 14 seconds. So this one I felt like was a good kind of culmination of the album. Whether it was the B-sides or the original album, I felt like it could have really fit either way. It had some kind of mentioned it before as far as My Chemical Romance reference, but it had some kind of guitar work, and that kind of reminded me of the Black Parade in this song. Very cool sound to it. It almost sounds like an arena rock sound, as we kind of mentioned before. Very cool. It relates vocally excellent, lyrically powerful is what I said. Kind of recapping relationships and struggles, and again has kind of themes of death and the end, and kind of a good closeout track. So whether it was this or the one they actually went with, I felt like either one would have been excellent to close out the album with. And yeah, one of their better songs, but I can see why, if they went with the one that they went with in the first place, why this wouldn't make the cut into the album, because it's an excellent song, definitely one of my favorites, but you don't want two closing songs,
right?
So I can see why they went away from it. And I would say I like the initial closer better, but it's like a 1A 1B for me, not like oh, I can definitely see why they went with that, because they're both great.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think it's fitting. I don't know many bands that have something super heavy ending an album. It's best to digress with something calming to fade out of what was brought in. So another ballad closing this deluxe edition of the album, while the other ending track of the original, as I noted as well, is a better fit. So we're on the same page there. This still serves as a great exit. I found hints of the Beatles with layers and the vocal note progression on this track. Specifically, the piano notes and progression makes me think of I Am the Walrus by the Beatles. If you listen to it, the organ specifically, listen to both one after the other. You're going to hear the notes of influence. I don't know if it's incidental or what, but it's good. It's good. A good closer to a overall fantastic album. Which brings us to our final review out of 10, our final thoughts on this thing. It's been an amazing 2-hour journey together, which is actually great timing for 27 tracks, our biggest album review to date. And I do want to say next week is our Christmas special. I have not listened to it yet, so I have another task in front of me, but fortunately it is much shorter and hopefully a lot more jolly. Because it is the Christmas album by Newfound Glory. That will be our next review, and that is, I believe, next week, Monday? If you can make that date?
Yeah, Monday or Tuesday, something like that.
Okay.
Let's double check.
Yes, please check. Let me know which day works for you. So,
either one, but
Tuesday
yeah, I know we've said it.
Because Tuesday is our podcast with Cody. So it would either have to be Monday or Wednesday next week, whichever works best.
It's Monday.
Perfect. So next week, Monday, Newfound Glory Christmas album. I believe there's only 10 or 11 tracks, so much shorter review. We will be, if you want to participate, this is available on Amazon. Let me know. I'll send you the link. But for donations, we'll specify the amount. We're doing the Bean Boozled during Christmas week. I'm doing it for all shows, but next week, if you want to be involved, and I'll do the same for Rob on his show on Wednesday, and then Cody has already purchased his for Tuesday. He wants to be involved. So for certain donations to the channel. Bean Boozled Fiery 5 Challenge. It includes jalapeno, sriracha, cayenne, habanero, and Carolina Reaper.
Sounds incredible.
Beans. And then I also have atomic warheads for smaller donations. And we will spin the Wheel of Death during that show. So that'll be interesting, trying to do a review while not dying. So
I mean, those all sound just really good to me.
Okay, I'll send you the link if you want to partake. So in fact, let me do that right now. And if you want to go first, I generally have gone first in my closings, so I'll give you the honor.
I mean, I'll close first. Sounds like you've got a lot more written than I do.
I do.
So yeah, I'll go ahead. So for me, I said I appreciate the growth of this band throughout the years. They really hit mainstream radio with their first album briefly, second album a ton. I mean, and it's, for me, the one that I had on repeat the most. Definitely In Love and Death. And then third, basically kind of went over the top with radio pop. They've kind of stepped into politics a bit. And kind of constantly evolved. So I definitely have been a fan for years. Finally got a chance to see them. I feel like one thing that they've kept consistent throughout their albums is they know how to connect with their fans, and basically kind of hits home with a lot of their stuff. Even the B-sides of this album are, just excellent, or emotionally evolved. I felt like some of their earlier stuff was more, I guess emo, or on the like angry side of it. But now they're getting more complex and, developing songs. Again, they're talking about their children, or relationships, or songs on this album that are relating to, hating songs that are reminding you of relationships. I feel like this album just has so much to offer as far as the variety of sound from start to finish, and great features aside from the one that we mentioned. And for me, that led me to rate it 10 out of 10.
Whoa, I was off. I said 8 or 9 for you, but that's all right. A 10 out of 10, a perfect album. Impressive.
Yeah.
Impressive. All right. Let's see if I agree.
I mean, it's definitely one of those ones, like you said before, where you've got songs that'll get into your playlist that you'll repeat over and over and over again. And that's, I mean, most of at least the original album and several of the B-sides for me. And it's extremely rare for me to say that about any band, especially when you have a band like The Used that's been around for this long. And if you would have told me that I'd like an album more than In Love and Death, I wouldn't have believed it. Just because I still love that album front to back. And now, almost 20 years later, they're putting out just excellent stuff.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Let me pull that album up, because that one has, let's see, that album has my favorite track by The Used. I have an absolute favorite song by them, and it's on that album.
Lunacy Fringe?
It is Lunacy Fringe.
That was a guess. Honestly, yeah. That's because it's not one of their hits from that album,
right?
But it's also mine.
Is that really? That's funny as hell. Yeah,
that's why I just threw it out there, because I was thinking, he's not going to go for All That I've Got.
No, that's a good song, but
which is great.
Yeah,
but yeah,
that's funny. That's really funny.
Crazy.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the other ones too, because there's so many that are good from that. We almost used a song by them too for our wedding song, and that was from Lies and the Liars. Okay. I don't know if it was a joke or if she was serious about it, but I was, we could have. And that's Smother Me.
Okay.
So it's a fun ballad that's pretty dark, but I was like, I think it fits us. We ended up going, obviously, with Panic at the Disco instead. So.
Hey, we went dark.
What did you?
We went literally dark. I Will Follow You Into the Dark.
Oh, okay.
By Death Cab.
Yeah, Death Cab for Cutie. Yeah. But yeah, that's a damn good song. So, as you know, I am a difficult critic for whatever reason. I'm harsh. Do I also agree with your 10 out of 10 sentiment and statement here? Almost 20 years of being a fan of a band is not something that is easily accomplished. Being a fan of anything that long is no easy task. There are only a small handful of bands during my lifetime that have resonated with me the way this band has. While they have gone through some changes, even in their lineup, they've had an important constant in their music, and that is emotion. Not only do you feel them in every lyric, but they find a way to convey emotion in every single note they play too. Now, for this album of Heartwork, originally this album came out in 2020 when the world was basically going to shit, even worse than its normal going to shit. A pandemic was affecting us all in ways we didn't even know was possible yet. And even though we are still attempting to get through some of our darkest and difficult moments of it, we had this album. Moments of escape are important, and many of us find that in movies, literature, and gaming, especially for this channel here. That's what we convey. We provide an escape for so many of you guys listening to any of our podcasts and our gaming. For the wrestling show out there, we provide escape in this dark and horrible world that can be presented to you. For me, while I do enjoy all these escapes, music has been my refuge. It has gotten me through some of my darkest moments and left me with inspiration. And music is a friend that I always had at my side, and the words I often needed in my ears. Knowing someone out there is sharing either thoughts of good or bad and gifting us with these experiences they went through are the things that have kept me personally going. So Bert manages to find a way with every album to convey his darkest thoughts and share them with us. Heartwork captures even more things we did not know we needed from him. His lyrics, accompanied by the amazing music on these tracks, hopefully have helped many of us throughout this pandemic. And since the release of this album, hopefully have helped out more people that didn't know they were helped. This deluxe edition now adds even more tracks to an already incredible album and delivers an emotional journey for our mind and ears. And my only complaints would be just some of the notes of familiarity being too familiar on some of the tracks, which makes sense why they did. But if you ever listen to this band, if you've never listened to this band, I'm sorry, I highly recommend it. They are the glue holding post-hardcore and alternative alive today. They are the glue of this genre. Fight me. Prove me wrong. I give it a 9 out of 10. I would give it a 9.5 if we were doing half points too. I don't know. Like, here's the thing. I don't disagree with your 10 out of 10. But once I give a 10 out of 10, where do I go from there? What if something is better than Heartwork? Do I also just give it a 10 out of 10? I don't know. So, a damn near perfect album. It's very well put together. I'm happy with the deluxe edition too. Because a lot of times they're like, here's some live tracks. Here's some just crappy extras.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case, like you said. So, yeah. You just need to... Batman says a 10.5 would be the next one up. No. Yes, Batman, go through the rest of the album if you can. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't know how familiar you are with the band. Yeah, I enjoyed this. I had fun reviewing this. I think this was a great pick. I believe this was your pick, right?
Yeah. I mean, initially when it came out, we weren't doing this, and then I saw that they were doing the deluxe, and I already had the initial album on repeat quite a bit. So I was really excited to see what the deluxe would bring to it. And again, like we discussed, thematically, I see why they didn't go with several of the tracks in that B-side, but I don't feel like there are any of them where I went, there was maybe one on the complete album, and then like one on the B-sides where we went, yeah, this is okay, which it's rare, because I mean, one of those that we did in the complete album was an interlude, which, and then, one was probably the Travis Barker one. So, yeah, I mean, for that many to be consistently rotating for me, and like I said, with clean cut heels, like that's just one where I've never listened to a Used song that's like made me want to move like that, which it's totally different. So totally different feeling to, listen to the Used and get, like in the headspace that I would get when listening to like Matt and Kim, or, something that's more upbeat or more poppy. And they really brought it with that and kept their original sound while developing all kinds of cool production sounds that made this album so great.
Yeah, when this dropped, it was heavy in rotation in my headphones back in 2020 when the initial album dropped. It was the perfect length that I could finish this album while mowing my lawn, back when I was mowing my lawn before we moved to our new house. So it was that perfect length, and it was heavily in rotation. I listened to you could ask Lana, who often gets to hear my stuff in rotation, unfortunately for her, for some of it, because she doesn't align with all my music tastes, but this was in heavy rotation. This album was definitely in heavy rotation for recent releases. So
yeah, you are one of those professors. I agree, Andrea.
Yeah, she did say, she says I'm one of the professors that say they'll never give A's. It did get an A, a 9 out of 10. That's an A. It's not an A+.
Yeah, it's an A minus.
Oh, it's still an A. Like, jeez. There's always room to grow. But for real,
how does In Love and Death score for you?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. That'd be unfair because I'd have nostalgia goggles on, right?
Yeah.
So I would say probably 9 out of 10 as well, without going track by track. I mean, it has the favorite track of theirs, for me. So I don't know. It probably definitely a 9, right? But that's with nostalgia, I don't know now. So.
Oh man.
Batman
are there any albums that stick out?
Are there any albums that are a perfect 10? They exist. They do exist. I'll find
you just have to revisit them and make sure.
Right. Yes. I don't want to say it and then be like, you know what? No, that's track.
Man.
So they exist. There are 10s out there. I don't know how
many. All right. Can't
pull
one out of you, huh?
No. Here's the thing, because like even in like historical albums that have done well, like I'm a big fan of Metallica, right? They've had some controversial albums in their time. For a lot of people, they would say "Injustice for All," or the Black Album, right? Those are the albums that define a band, right? Those are generally like The Wall, Pink Floyd. We're talking about albums that define them. Even stuff like that, like the Black Album by Metallica, I wouldn't give a 10. There's some stuff on there I don't like. So, like, I don't know. I don't know if there's an album front to back that is a perfect 10. They do exist, I'm sure. I would just have to die for it. Like, I don't know. Name a band right now. I could tell you, like, some of the albums, because I'm curious.
For me, what would be like a 10 out of 10?
Lana says I'm non-committal. Well, sure, for you, but, like, even Blink-182, we both love Blink-182, right? Even their self-titled album, which is, in my opinion, their best album, even that's like an 8 or a 9 out of 10. Because there's stuff on that I don't like.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that. Like, I love Blink. Seen them a couple times, and but yeah, but for me, like you said, they had a ton of songs on the radio, but there isn't an album of theirs that sticks out as a 10 out of 10 for me. But like for other bands, like I definitely have that where I would literally play every track. So I'm just surprised that there's not one that sticks out for you. I'm trying hard to get this 10 out of you.
I'm a harsh critic. There's something out there. I just can't think of it off the top of my head. It might be a Fall Out Boy album, to be honest with you. Either Fall Out Boy or Incubus or something. Like, but even that,
like Grave or From Under the Cork Tree. It better not be anything past that.
Why? What's wrong with the stuff post that? Folie à Deux is really good.
Another discussion.
All right. It exists. All right. It exists. Like I enjoy Panic at the Disco, and I don't think they have a 10 out of 10 album.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, really, like what I'm drawing a blank here. I can't pick a 10 out right now. In all honesty, I could pick tracks by artists and put an album together of my favorite songs and call it, here are 12 songs and it's a 10 out of 10. Anybody could do that, especially if you have an expansive catalog. But a solid album front to back. Now there's a maybe. There is a maybe.
All right, what's your maybe?
Quite possibly Morning View by Incubus.
Okay.
That might be a perfect 10 album, front to back.
All right.
Because I love Science by them, their early work, but I don't think that's a 10 out of 10. And Make Yourself, I don't think that's a 10 out of 10. It's a 9 out of 10 probably. I don't know, though. Don't quote me on this either, because I'm going to have to review that album one day, maybe. Lana says Morning View. So that might be the one. I don't know. There could be others. I guess for listeners, if we have any more, you're going to stick around and listen to us as we keep doing these, if you enjoy the content. Because we're going to be doing this still once a month. And who knows what albums we're going to grab now. I know we want to try to stick to new releases, but now you got me curious for what you have in your back pocket as far as what you consider 10 out of 10s. So is this our hunt now? Are we finding the perfect album?
Well, yeah, I mean, the perfect album is going to be perfect for different people.
Right,
I mean, like, you might pick a Metallica album and I go, oh.
No, I'm not going to pick a Metallica album. I'll be honest with you. I love Metallica, but there's not a 10 out of 10 Metallica album out there.
But there are bands that have had, like, not like a staying power, but have put out just fantastic albums front to back that have only put out 2 or 3 albums or, one. Like, I mean, that wouldn't say this is a 10 out of 10 just going from history, but I'd say like Boston, right? Like there's so many hits off their album. So it's like, yeah, but I mean, but I'm just saying, like, yeah, I'm just surprised you don't have one. I mean, you've given me Incubus and saying that's maybe, you're not still.
There are a lot of bands like Fall Out Boy. I'll listen to them front and back and enjoy it, but is it a 10 out of 10? Probably not. Just because I thoroughly enjoy something doesn't mean it's a perfect album. That just means it's a guilty pleasure. So I sometimes have to separate, being too subjective, I guess. I don't know. Not enough. Lana says, commit this to memory. Would you give that a 10 out of 10?
No.
Yeah, see. And you hold that fondly in your heart.
I do. But there are 2 tracks on there that I could pass on. So yeah, like for me, yeah, because I mean, she obviously, we've had chats about Motion City and other bands that I like, and you know, even Sum 41. I'm trying to think, you know, like Weezer. There's a well, okay, so I've got one for Weezer, but
which one, the Blue album?
No, Pinkerton.
Oh yeah, that's right. That makes sense. Yeah, I should have known.
So, but yeah, honestly, I don't think that there is a Motion City album that I would give a 10 out of 10, but they're the band I listen to the most.
Right. See how difficult this is? Because you would think because a band that you absolutely adore, you would give a 10 out of 10. Like another one of my favorite bands is 9 Inch Nails. Would I give any of their albums a 10 out of 10? Probably not. And like The Fragile is one of the most important albums to me as far as like creating music content. And we talk about emotion. The Fragile, their 2-disc, their 2 A and B album of that. That's damn near perfect, but is it a 10 out of 10? No. So I don't know. This will be a fun thing if we want to change course here instead of just reviewing recent releases. I don't really care what course we go. Whatever interests you guys, the listeners, and what appeals to us, we'll just kind of pick. And we're still going to alternate turns. So January will be me. And then we'll go back to you in February. So I'll have to look up and see what is coming out or is recent release. Or I'll just pull something out that I want you to check out. Maybe like Simple Creatures. I know it's a few years old now. But ultimately that's our challenge too. Is I wanted to do this because I wanted to turn you on to new music. And you the same with me. And then we also wanted to continue to discover new music. And I don't want to let that ever stop in my life. I don't want to ever not continue to discover music. So this podcast isn't forcing me to continue to discover music, but it's forcing me to think more deeply about what I'm listening to. A great example of that was a throwback to our 21 Pilots review. I learned so much in that episode that I didn't know existed. And I look at them and listen to them very differently now.
Yeah.
And I still love that band, so. They don't have a 10 out of 10 album, though.
I agree.
But yeah. I don't know. That's all I have for this. This was a fun conversation and an even more fun album for you to listen to. So if you're listening to this podcast, quite possibly you've already listened to the album. But if you haven't, do give it a listen. Check it out. It's available on streaming platforms. You can probably find it for free on YouTube. I don't know about the Deluxe Edition. I'm assuming you probably could. It is on Spotify. It's how I listened. You could probably find it on other digital music platforms. And if they still sell, and if you still buy physical copies, I'm sure they have it printed on compact disc or, I don't know, probably not cassette, but vinyl, maybe. I don't know.
They have the full initial album on vinyl and not the deluxe that I'm aware of yet.
So there you go. If you're a vinyl collector, get this one. But that's
for
it.
Sure.
Next week, ladies and gentlemen, Newfound Glory Christmas special. You and I, J-Man. That's going down. Also next week, we have our annual DNA regular Christmas special. Cody and I are facing off with 32 picks from me, 32 picks from him. We're determining the greatest video game of all time in a bracket challenge. That'll be interesting. And may my game win. It will. Because I already know it is the greatest game. There's no debating that. Then next week, Wednesday, we have the top 10 Christmas movies of all time. If you guys like Christmas movies and want to help us build a list, tune in during that show. Again, that's next Wednesday night. Me and Rob, are going to build that Christmas movie list. And is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Of course.
There you go. So it's eligible for the list. I already know my favorite Christmas movie. So will it be our number one together, though? I don't know what his favorite movies are. So
yeah, my unpopular opinion is Jingle All the Way.
That's a good
and I know that's not number one for many people, but for me, that's my winner.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's not my number one, though. Mine is, I guess you'll have to see.
I guess so.
And then, of course, this week, Thursday and next Thursday, we have NAW. If you like wrestling, that's the place to be on Wednesday or Thursday nights. So tune in for that. Our Christmas special for NAW is next week, Thursday. We have a normal episode this week. And that pretty much will bring us up to the holiday here in the States and for most places that celebrate. So thank you, Justin, for being on another episode. I think this was awesome. And again, check out Heartwork by The Used, available now, Deluxe Edition. Hopefully we made a new fan out there somewhere. So
hopefully.
But until next time, you guys have a safe time wherever you may be in this world. And Justin and I will see you at our Christmas special again for Newfound Glory. Oh boy, I can't wait. I have not listened
mostly new tracks.
Is it mostly new?
I think they have one cover.
Oh, interesting. It's not an album of
covers. I know. Not what you'd think. So.
Okay, well, I am prepared for that now. So, or not. I don't know. I'm scared. But good night, everybody. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye.